And here we go. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Stacks by the Numbers. And we're looking at Monday here. And we have Super Micro Computer Incorporated, ticker symbol SMCI, all up in my eye. Stock closed 21.54, up almost 3 full points, almost 16% going into the close. Everyone was waiting to hear if they were going to maintain their listing. Is everything okay? Are they getting kicked off? Are we talking about an OTC stock now? As we can see, after our stock absolutely continuing this explosion. And again, I mentioned that not only did we have this potential good news catalyst coming out, but of course, even on the technical side, we had daily and weekly RSI, I believe, approaching that 30, sub 30 benchmark. So that's why any little positive little headline was probably going to start really pumping the stock. And then as the MACD crossed and traders started to look at the RSI, as I said, it was all going to just continue and snowball upwards, so to speak. And we can see, again, we got news. We'll get into it, but right now, stock sitting at a touch over $27 a share. It's up over 5.5 points right now. Additionally, on top of those three, an additional 25.5%, we'll call it. Looks like we spiked up here, potential bull flagging, spiked up again, channeling downward, potentially getting ready to spike up again. You can see right here, I have a trend line. We'll call it like 28.12, 28.14, kind of around there, but basically about 28. And you can see right here, high 27.90 after hours. Stock has literally went today from market open. Stock went from $20 even to as high as over $27 a share right now after hours. So just jumping in today at the open, if you were able to catch it in the first minute or two, I mean, you just made yourself 30+% real quick, with obviously more on the way. And shout out to those traders who were in a position to roll the dice, take a small shot. I know someone mentioned, like, yeah, you know, I got a decent sized account. I took a couple of $100. I bought, you know, like I forgot what they said, like a 25 call or something on SMCI. And that's what I mean. That's why I said, if we did happen to maintain the NASDAQ listing and we were able to kind of pump for a few days, something like that, you'd see a really impressive return. So shout out to all of you who mentioned. And again, I know some of you were like, well, I don't think they're out of the woods yet, so I'm not going to take a position quite yet. Totally understandable. I respect that. Again, this main surge coming off of the supposed maintaining of the NASDAQ listing. So Supermicro jumps as it files plan with NASDAQ to stay listed. Supermicro has appointed an independent auditor and submitted a plan with NASDAQ to comply with listing requirements. Shares of the server maker were sharply higher on Monday as investors awaited the announcement that it had filed a plan. Stock closed. Stock was also the top performer in the S&P 500. That's what I mean. We forget about all that. And everyone's just like, oh, this company's a piece of crap. Where's it going? $5? Like, no. Settle down. Settle down. You don't team up with NVIDIA and see increased, buffed up revenue guidance of 100+% year over year for multiple years in a row. You don't see that type of growth and demand in your business and then drop the ball. You understand? So that's why, again, was it speculative? Yeah, of course. But also at the same time, the way I was personally looking at it, I was pretty confident we were going to start getting reports like this, that everything is now getting back on track. In a statement, Supermicro said its board engaged BDO. Those who know BDO. As its auditor, effective immediately, BDO is a member firm of BDO International. CEO said the appointment of BDO, quote, is an important next step to bring our financial statements current, an effort we are pursuing with both diligence and urgency. So someone else also commented, and again, I'm sorry, I don't know your name offhand, but someone else mentioned something similar to that. Like, yeah, that the fact that they saw such a jump in demand and the fact that all the numbers on the books like instantly doubled or 1.5 tripled, you know, perhaps they just weren't able to do the job. So that maybe they had to bring in some help, some extra oversight. And now we see again, some people mentioned also that once Ernst Young stepped down, resigned, people were saying, oh, they should contact Deloitte and have Deloitte do it. I said, in my opinion, you know, I agree with that as well. That's another big company, a nice brand name. You bring them in, right? That'll kind of put investors at ease, and everyone, we can talk about the growth and the up and up again. And, you know, they go with BDO, which I'm sure is fine. But it seemed like that may have been part of the story behind the scenes. So shout out to whoever that was on the SMCI video, because they mentioned it, and that might have just been what it was. The fact that the books and the business just exploded and they just weren't able to handle it. So yeah, the filing was late. They weren't able to get all the numbers in order, the ducks in a row. Now they got some extra help. So boom, over the next couple of quarters now, everything hopefully will be fine. Company will get back on track. The company also said its plan supports its request for an extension of time to regain compliance with NASDAQ's requirements. The company said it believes it will be able to complete its annual report for the year ended June 30th and its quarterly report for the fiscal quarter ended September 30th, and become current with its periodic reports within the discretionary period available to the NASDAQ staff to grant. Supermicro said its securities will remain listed pending NASDAQ's review of the plan, citing the exchange's rules. Again, people wanted to jump on board the train of, if it gets delisted off the NASDAQ, stock will probably continue to go lower, right? That's why some people were waiting and seeing, which again, I completely appreciate. However, people always bring up that it happened before, and it did. They said it happened in 2018, and then within 16 months, 18 months, whatever it was, because the business was still growing, they kind of re-met and re-qualified for the NASDAQ listing. So then they got back on the NASDAQ January of 2020. So that's why, again, I know we had a back and forth in the comments with some people. And also, again, I can appreciate the fact if you're one of those people who you don't always take everything at face value, right? You're a little more hesitant, you're a little more cautious. That's fine, again. Because like we said, if it was at 18 and then it got delisted, yeah, it could have went to 10, 11, like some people were saying. Right? So why buy it now at 18 if we're not sure yet, and you might be able to buy it at 11? So I completely appreciate that argument. But at the end of the day, the growth of the business cannot be denied. And that's why even the last time it happened, the stock continued to grow in 2019 into 2020. Then they got listed on the NASDAQ again. Then they were growing for a couple of years. Then they started to gain some real attention from the traders and everyone else on YouTube, started buying calls, they were flipping, they were making good money, and then they got listed on the S&P. So, think about that as well, because people try to bring up, past issues with this company. The last time they got delisted, the stock and the business continued to climb, continued to rage for years, jumped up massively, ended up continuing to beef up guidance, beat earnings more times than not, and then they got added to the S&P. So all of that happened since the other time they got delisted off the NASDAQ. You understand what I'm saying? That's why I mentioned to some people, even if they go OTC, I don't care if they trade on a freaking foreign exchange, it really shouldn't hinder the stock's performance, in my opinion. Because the business, the revenue, the growth, the demand is there. And, it was just unfortunate timing where all of these, negative headlines started to hit for SMCI, because I still say, the stock went up to over 1,200 and it was cooling down, channeling. Chances are it was probably going to pop up and out of that, right? Because markets continued to climb. And then, of course, we had the pop off the election, right? And this is a domestic company. That's what I mean. That's why if these headlines didn't come, this stock probably would have popped up and out to 1,400, 1,500, which now, after the split, would have been $140 to $150, right? It probably would have hit new highs. So that's why, again, as it was chunking down so much, that's why I kind of kept saying to myself in my updates, in my opinion, this is an overreaction. People are forgetting who they're talking about when we're tanking the stock from 120 down to new lows of 17. Are you crazy? That's why I said in previous updates, unless we find out that, instead of $5.5 billion that they reported in revenue for the quarter, it was really $1 billion, right? Now we're talking about a completely different situation. Now I'm on your side. That was a massive discrepancy on their end. Some serious shady shit. And yeah, the stock should tank all the way down to single digits because now that's what the company would be worth, right? But that's what I mean. Some, delay filings, and again, oh, we're going to kick you off the NASDAQ. Again, in my opinion, wouldn't have affected the stock, but they're trying to maintain the listing, so whatever. Seems to be fine right here in the moment. I know people are still waiting this investigation. But again, I still say, oh, the nepotism, the guy's brother-in-law is the president of the company that they gave some business to, or whatever the heck. It strikes me, as I said, almost as you compare it to counting cards in Vegas, right? Like it's not illegal. It's just like frowned upon, and maybe you shouldn't do it. So that's why, again, oh, they did business with the brother-in-law, whoever it was. It's like, yeah, okay, I appreciate the little concern, but at the end of the day, unless they were unqualified, should have never gotten that business, products were like exploding a week later because they were put together poorly because, again, they didn't have the right qualifications or experience to work with SMCI. That's what I mean. If we heard a report like that, then I can say, yeah, this company really dropped the ball. They were taking care of, their cousins over there at the other company. Turns out they were producing shit products. They were pulling the wool over everyone's eyes. People are saying they did $6 billion in revenue. They might not have broken over $1 billion if they didn't, team up with the family. You understand what I'm saying? If we started to get a kind of report like that from behind the scenes of what was happening at SMCI, then absolutely 100%, I would hop the fence and I would say, I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole. No one should be buying this stock, in my opinion. But again, we didn't really get that story. Like, they mentioned the nepotism, but that's what I mean. If it didn't necessarily, hurt or negatively affect someone else, then in my opinion, it's really not a big deal. Again, it might rub you the wrong way that they know each other and their family or whatever, but if it's not illegal technically, then what are we talking about? But let's get back to this. Supermicro said we'll maintain its listing pending NASDAQ's review, right? Supermicro has dealt with no end of issues lately. The challenges have ranged from deteriorating profit margins to a short seller report to its former accounting firm resigning. Yeah, we know, again, that these profit margins, in my opinion, are going to absolutely start to explode as the revenue really starts chunking in as they forecast it over the next year or two. So that's why, just even that mention of profit margins, as they also mention the other BS headlines. It's like you can't lump them all together. That's the way I'm looking at it. Company delayed filing its 10K or annual report for the fiscal year as it was required to do so to maintain listing. One of the major delayed the filing after receiving a letter at 60 days. But because the date fell on a Saturday, there was the possibility of an extension. Person with the matter told Barron's last week, confirmed that Supermicro intended to submit a plan, right? That was our last update we spoke about. Also Monday, the company also announced latest lineup of NVIDIA AI data center server systems based on Blackwell graphics processing units. That's why I'm saying, man, in my opinion, this stock is going to be an absolute beast. And already was before this news hit. Again, the top performer in the S&P, keep that in mind. And again, the fact that they're working with NVIDIA, that's what I mean. And then people were like, oh, NVIDIA said that, they're suspending business with SMCI so that it doesn't affect, any pipeline issues or anything like that. Yeah, from NVIDIA's standpoint, from a business standpoint, they had to make that statement. Don't you understand? They had to make that statement. They had to distance themselves because they are the leader in the space. So if there's negativity surrounding SMCI, it's like, yeah, listen, they might be going through the ringer right now. Who knows? We might find out they cooked the books. We might find out, they've been BSing about all this crap. So you know what? We have to suspend business right now with SMCI and just make sure that, our supply chain isn't disrupted. Yes, understandable. But again, they were already working with NVIDIA, and the way people tout NVIDIA so much, for NVIDIA to entrust someone like SMCI and have them kind of ride the coattails off of the massive AI demand surge. I mean, they wouldn't use SMCI if they weren't the right company for the job. That's the point I'm trying to make here. Or I tried to make in the last video that, again, people, I don't know, some people got upset. Not everybody, but some people got upset. But I just want to thank you guys, honestly. I know I'm rambling like I always do, and now I'm going to mention the last video for a second, but I just want to give a big shout out to all new viewers, new subscribers. I mean, you know, you guys, you really helped catapult the channel, like just over the last last couple of weeks. But again, that last SMCI video got over 3 times as many views as my most viewed video to date on this channel. We're talking about almost 300 likes on the video. Just consistently kept climbing in views. So many of you were leaving comments. Again, some positive, some negative. It doesn't matter because, of course, all interaction I welcome. And supposedly it helps. I don't know. No one really knows how the algorithm works. But whatever. I just want to say I really appreciate this new support from a lot of you. And, you know, I'm glad you found the channel. But, yeah, okay, NVIDIA, and yeah, we got BDO as the auditor, fantastic, highly respected accounting firm with global capabilities, is an important next step, optimism, AI-driven demand, data center servers, that's why we put them in the S&P, Okay, I'm reading. Grace period, I'm reading. This could extend the deadline to February next year. Yeah, well, so what's that, like another 90 days they would get? I mean, chances are they don't need that much time. But, I'm telling you, it was smart in a way. The way they did it, right? They had 60 days. They literally took like all 60 days. Now they're filing a plan. The stock got beat up. That's why, again, I think if they had more cash on hand, they probably would have announced a stock buyback. But also at the same time, you're under the microscope with your auditor and your books. So you can't exactly come out and say, oh, we're buying 300 million worth of stock, right? You know, so that would probably raise a red flag and people would be like, wait, what the hell did you just say? So that's understandable, but in my opinion, that could be coming. I think SMCI is a stock that may benefit very well off the January effect that people speak about. I just think, again, it may have been premature because maybe I, you know, like the stock more than some others do. But I think like 20, sub 20, I think that was an absolute gift. And again, people jumped down my throat a little bit. How can you speak so positively? They still have crap to deal with. Yeah, no, I understand. But again, we updated that Susquehanna just took a 5.3% stake. 5.3% of the whole company now Susquehanna owns. So they stepped in, and they stepped in with size, you know, and you're jumping down to the comments, like trying to come at me because I think the company could continue to grow. Like, that's what I mean. You're missing the big picture here. Now, Susquehanna, granted, you know, a lot of these institutions, you know, some may have been handed their positions in the finance world. Some may have actually earned it. But also at the end of the day, you know, we have to look at the numbers. We have to call it like it is. You didn't grow and, you know, maintain your reputation and increase your assets under management by making silly, you know, poor decisions. So that's why, again, they, I guess, kind of felt, the way I felt. And that's why they saw it down sub 20 and they were like, you know what, even if it gets freaking delisted and they tank it to 12, chances are it's going to grow and come right back. Boom, we're taking a 5% stake. We're putting a chunk of wealth on the line and into the business. So they really put their money where their mouth is, and I have a feeling that we're going to turn around in 12 months. They're going to look like freaking champions. Champions. But look at this, just absolutely phenomenal. Basically back to the highs of the after hours trading session here. What did we hit again? 27.90. Stock recently hit 27.78. Sitting here right now, 27.60. Next line up here, 28. Let's back out on a longer time frame, and you can see, look at that, boom, we're basically right back up to this trend line now, which again, as we gap down and hit, you can see the stock tried to retest and then had a big rejection at around 30.5 and tanked all the way down, even broke down through longer support. And now you can see we bounced right back up above it, ran today, boom, now we're running up after hours, we're right here at 28. So in my opinion, we're going to go right back to where we were. I think we mentioned the mid-Bollinger Band of about 30.99. You can see right here where we gap down, we're looking at, it looks like about 30.89, which of course coincidentally would meet up right with this 20-day moving average as well. So we know how sometimes stocks like to break down, and as this moving average trails with it, then you have a bounce and it'll come right back up to retest the moving average, right? So that's why, you know, looking for like 30.5, 31 in my opinion, I think that's a layup. And technically the next trend line, yeah, we're looking at, yeah, maybe like 32.5, 32.60, which of course would fill that gap from that gap. This technically wasn't a gap down, as you see how low it went here on September 26th. And you can see this is the top of this candle. So it technically did gap down, but it wasn't an overall gap down. But chances are we will probably, in my opinion, retrace back to that level, which is about 37 and change, 37 and a third, 38. I still maintain my personal long-term price target on SMCI of $200+ a share. Again, for the record, I do not have a position in SMCI. Let's look at stock charts and I'll let you go. So we can see the RSI, as we saw, it was thrown out the window. It really wasn't used as an indicator because everyone just kind of jumped on board, rode the wave, followed the trends, as all the hobbyists on YouTube tell you to do, without actually analyzing the situation and the company, expecting to get potentially screwed over here as the news now comes out and the stock essentially almost doubled just over the last couple of days. But everyone jumped on board here at 30, excuse me, at 30 in my opinion. This was an overreaction, but we chunked it down to new lows to 17. And of course, the RSI again was well below sub 30 for what? That's like 3 straight weeks. And now we can see the RSI has curled back up, of course. And even on the daily here, RSI sitting only at 32. So that's why to say we can retrace back to like 30, 32, I mean, that's why, again, that's a layup. That's a layup, in my opinion. I'm looking back for this 50-day moving average here, 39 and a third, which will basically come back up here. What were we looking at? About 38 and a third. So that's why, as all this meets up and starts to pull back, and as this climbs back up, you'll probably get back to, that's why I said, in my opinion, 38 and a half, 39 and change, which may help catapult the stock above the moving average to touch the psychological breakpoint of 40, right? So we'll see. Only time will tell. But yeah, I think next stop, yeah, should be about 31, and then it should be like 38 and change to 39 and a third. Looking at the weekly, we had the same thing, right? The RSI over time, after hearing about the S&P listing and really surging in value here just throughout like a year or so. Look at that. Beginning of 23. Like, we're still on the up and up, but look at the beginning of 23. And then look at the break up and out. And then 24 hits, and look at the break up. S&P news. That's what I mean. This stock was freaking tearing, bro. And that's why, what did I say literally when we originally heard news of the Hindenburg report? I said, let me tell you something. I said, these guys better be right. Otherwise, this thing is gonna explode. There were people here at 1,200 that liked it. Now it's at 200 and change, technically. Right? If we look pre-split. I mean, that's why I was saying in the comments, like, unless we get a result of an investigation that literally, like, forces the company to close its doors and shut the business down, then in my opinion, I really do think it is very, very difficult to bet against a steady, solid grower like SMCI. Look at this. And again, that's just over the last couple of years. Again, that's from going flat, 21, 22, and then starting to climb. And remember, they got back on the NASDAQ January of 2020. right? Slowly churning along. They're quiet. No one knows about it. Then all of a sudden the freaking numbers start coming in, and then it starts trending a little bit. We're hitting new highs, and all of a sudden then they beef up guidance again, and then who's upgrading, and then boom, we get listed on the S&P. Like, are you kidding me? All of that happened since the last delisting. So that's why, people tried to jump down my throat in the comments section. Oh, you're crazy. You're misleading people. What? Misleading people? What? First of all, number one, in my opinion, I'm not. Second of all, I literally say the words "in my opinion" about 28 times in every single video. So there is no way in hell you would be able to prove that I'm misleading anyone. I mean, let's be serious here. If you don't like it, you just bought a put, say that. Don't come at me with your bullshit. When chances are the other people on YouTube you're watching are making thumbnails and video titles that say, this stock will 10x next year. You can't speak matter-of-factly like that. And then I make a video saying I like SMCI when everyone's betting against it, and you try to say I'm misleading people. Shame on you. Shame on you. But here you can see a retest back to the 200-day moving average, as it should, as I personally expected. 23.18 now, obviously, after hours. Up, stock is flying right now as we speak. Just broke up and out above that low 28 trend line. Stock currently sitting at roughly $29 a share, up 34.5% right now after hours, and it is not stopping. I literally said, in my opinion, once this gets cleared up, not only can you see 30, but in my eyes, I think 40 is going to happen, no problem. So any of you who had that little bit of faith in me, kind of saw the writing on the wall, thank you, of course, and also congratulations. And we were also speaking about the MACD as well. The MACD crossed after the up, right? We were dropping down hard after crossing down to the downside. And now that's what I mean. Now with this pop off, this news, you're going to start to see the flattening and the curl, and we're going to head back up. And if we cross to the upside, that's just going to surge the stock even more. And if we come back to the daily, up, look at that. What do you know? Basically, same exact thing after the potential theory that we were going to get delisted off the NASDAQ. You can see the bearish cross on the MACD completely drop down, and now you can see the flattening and the curling begin to take place. So now if the MACD crosses to the upside as well, that'll help the surge even more. You understand what I'm saying? That's why, yeah, 30, 31, 38, 9, 40, 50. In my opinion, that's a layup. That's a layup. And again, with this DOJ investigation, as we said, it could be viewed as, I did the comparison of card counting, excuse me, with Vegas, right? It's not technically illegal, but it's frowned upon. And that's what I mean. Like the DOJ, that's why, like, I don't know if we're really going to get any massively negative news. Because if they technically didn't do anything illegal, then kind of the whole investigation was for naught. And you literally threw this whole business through the ringer just because some schmuck out of Hindenburg, as we said, in my opinion, tried to be the freaking white knight of the market. Like, oh yeah, this company's raging and they're seeing massive demand. Oh no, wait, we call bullshit. Something's got to be happening. What the hell kind of logic is that? So I'm convinced, there was someone over there that didn't fill a quota or something, And there was someone, they knocked on their door and they were like, yeah, listen, you haven't given us anything for 2 months. Give us something or you're out. Right? And this guy's like looking around, crunching keys, and he's like, oh, SMCI did some shady shit back in 2018. Now the stock's raging. I bet you they're doing shady shit again. That, I swear, in my opinion, that's really what I feel like may have happened. But perhaps we'll never know. But RSI, again, basically just slightly above the benchmark now on the daily and the weekly. MACD's potentially getting ready to curl, cross back to the upside. We got some good news maintaining on the NASDAQ. Again, stock right now breaking up and out. 29.68, up over 8 points now, almost back to that 30 benchmark as we speak. And 37.33%. I mean, again, I don't need to keep going and beat a dead horse, as they say, because I think I am consistently and continuing to prove, who's who in my line of business. So that's it. I'm going to end it there. Once again, this is Stocks by the Numbers. I want to thank you for stopping by. Wait, did anything new come out? Oh, they actually submitted the plan. Hold on. Said Monday it intends to regain compliance in a timely manner. Lowered outlook accounting woes. Okay, I just want to make sure. So it anticipates being able to complete its form for its recent year. Okay. Well, yeah. Now, again, now they said that they tapped BDO and they got BDO in. So that's what I mean. Now, that they're going to be able to get the books in check, believe me. In addition to its report, 10Q, become current. Yes, okay. To help complete these reports, we hire BDO. Yes. Okay. Okay. It also guided fiscal second quarter sales 5.561 billion. This Wall Street's estimates. Okay. All right. So yeah, chances are it seems like the vibe, if you will, as the kids love to say, the vibe behind the business and the stock right now seems to be that they filed that plan and it looks like everyone's kind of on the same page. And we're probably going to maintain our NASDAQ listing. So, again, shout out to all of you who rolled the dice, had a little bit of faith, not only in me, but in the company as well. And, if you stepped in, you bought some calls, you bought some shares, you started to build a position right near that kind of bottom, it may have looked like, then listen, obviously, this is great news. You're up huge. Congratulations to all of you. I'm so happy for you guys, anyone who jumped in. And again, if you missed it, as we say, don't beat yourself up. Right? It technically is a big jump, but don't sweat the small stuff. Because again, technically nothing is guaranteed. So as confident as I was, we, again, could have heard the opposite news here today, and the stock could be at $9. So that's why, again, don't beat yourself up. You don't have the crystal ball. But now that you have a little bit of a clearer picture, remember, the stock was already up to $120, almost $130. And even though it did technically just explode in the last few days, it's only down here right now at 30. So that's why if we get through this turbulence and then we just get back to, our smooth sailing upride here, then yeah, over the years, again, it's probably going to work out well for you, even if you happen to pay a little bit more. But at least now at this price, you have even that much more confidence. You are, potentially a little less stressed or less anxious about the position. Like, okay, maybe they'll have one or two rough quarters somewhere in the mix, but, we're still on the NASDAQ. We regain compliance, right? We don't have any current red flags with the exchange right now. So, right, you have some of the storm past, if you will. I have to say that because apparently I'm misleading people saying we're on the up and up now. But in my opinion, $200+ a share. Stocks by the Numbers. I want to thank you for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please drop it down in the comments section. I'm usually pretty quick to reply. Thumbs up algorithm helps me get more eyes on the channel. And of course, subscribe to the channel. That is our handshake agreement. That is how you help me help you. But of course, more importantly, moving forward, like I always say, I want to wish everyone success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. I want to thank you for stopping by. Have a good day. Thanks for your time.